Hey, good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the Six Rings Kane Show on a new night, Monday night now, baby. We're really excited actually to have Eric McLean on the show here, college football analyst, co-host of the Huddle. Coach, yes, all right.
First touchdown of the year.
Miami Hurricanes, yeah. You know the name already. It's Mercy. Ha ha. It's a six-ring Kane show. Can't forget the name though. Got Jazz, Blue, Vish, and DJ break the game code. Ain't no changing them, ain't no breaking them. We reporting live from the Hard Rock Stadium. Ball 14 for the orange and green. We see the six-ring champs. It's more than a dream. This is life on the field. Beyond 100 yards of hurricane that's never still put a damage to your squad.
What's wrong with us? Seriously.
What's wrong with us? We're Miami Hurricanes fans.
Welcome to the Six Rings Kane Show, a show dedicated to Miami Hurricane sports, featuring the legendary Larry Bluestein, Jazz Santana, Vish, and Danny Gillette. Let's go, Canes.
Let's go.
So I gotta say, I got a new message on StreamYard because we famously run on Miami time and we started early. It's like, you're early. Like pops a message up and I'm like,
wow.
Go live anyway.
That's awesome.
So this is the first time we've ever, you're not really supposed to start early either, but, we're usually several minutes late. That it starts warning me like, we're going to cancel some of these links to other sites because they don't let you start.
This is weird. We're not going to let you start.
Yeah. I was very concerned that we're fired up for this, so we couldn't wait the 5 minutes. We had to go
in
to
baseball mode, man. There's no denying that. It's funny, man, because I know most Canes fans, they get hyped up about football season. Like us, right? We get super hyped up about football season. We love football around here. That's what we talk about probably 80, 85, 90% of the time, right? So, but to be honest with you, man, I mean, baseball is life to me, right? I grew up playing baseball my whole life, right? Played competitively, played college, played a little bit of semi-pro. And it's not even about me playing. It's just, I don't know, man. It's in my veins, right? Like that's me. I know we've had these conversations off air about, what would be the thing that I would do that would make me the happiest in the whole world that I could do for the rest of my life, right? And we've spoken about that a lot. And for me, it's coaching baseball, playing baseball, being around, being on the diamond, right?
Yeah.
And so to me, it's funny, and I'm in the minority here. I guarantee you, but national championship in baseball is to me just as exciting or just as gratifying as the national championship in football to me. And I know a lot of people don't feel that way, right? They feel it's football or bust. But for me, look, this was a baseball town. This was a baseball school before it was even football, right? I mean, We're talking about you want to talk about major league players and All-Americans and national championships, and baseball's right up there, man. Baseball's right up there. So this is one of the most storied franchises, storied programs in all of college baseball history, right? This is the one that we can really sit there and say we're at the top when it comes to.
Yeah, it's weird. This is all of our other programs are kind of upstarts, but college baseball became big because of Ron Frazier in Miami.
Yeah.
And so it's completely opposite. We're the blue bloods here. It's such a weird thing for the rest of our programs, right?
It really is. It's like, when you say college basketball, right, you can't say it without mentioning the Dukes and the North Carolinas and Kentuckys and Indiana, even Indiana.
UCLA, like all these schools.
UCLA, right. You can't mention college baseball without saying Miami. It's just
or mind you, Texas is in there too, which is what makes this regional kind of interesting. But yeah, Texas is in there too. But yeah, it's kind of a weird situation where it is the one sport where Miami is definitely a blue blood. They're like a traditional power, kind of what we're not in the other sports.
Right.
I hate to use this analogy, we're kind of the Notre Dame of baseball. We made it big and that's where we sit in baseball. To Jazz's point, this is the first major program that won a championship was baseball, not football. And it's been a while. Yeah, Pope, we're gonna get every angle that's covered, but it's been a long time since this program has even been in supers,
right.
let alone Omaha. So,
but it's funny though because every year, even in our down years, the year 2017 when we didn't make the playoffs, we didn't make the tournament at all.
Yeah,
like you still think, man, there's a shot, and under the radar or not, like this team is always going to be competitive. It's always going to have, that allure to them that at any moment, man, Miami gets hot, and the Yonder Alonso years, the Grandals, the David Thompsons, like all those teams that didn't make it, but I mean, we were with Yonder. We were the number one team in America that year, right? And yeah, we fell short, but it's just like it's funny. I know that maybe I'm kind of pushing it a little bit, but Miami baseball doesn't they don't they reload, right? They don't they don't God, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm drawing a blank here. They don't they reload their programs. They don't have to start from new, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like this is like a team that they're going to lose a couple of guys.
So I think the word you're looking for is rebuild.
Rebuild. Jesus Christ, what's going on with me? Yeah, they don't rebuild, right? They reload.
When football's been rebuilding for 25 years.
That's what happens. Yeah, you forget the word. That's what they do. That's what they do. Yeah. They reload this team, and I talk about it and I complain about it. Man, why are we recruiting the best players in the country? That's Miami baseball. You know, the best players in the country are going to want to come here, and then they get drafted in the first round, and we're like, shit. There goes Carlos Correa. There goes whoever it is you want, Josh Nader, whoever you want to talk about. There they go. But the fact of the matter is that's Miami baseball, and it's exciting, and we're back at it again, and we're hosting a regional again in Coral Gables for the 157th time, which is
last year didn't go well, so we're hoping for
and it's scary because what happened last year happened this year again, and I'll get into that. And I think where I'm going with that with Louisiana. But no. We can't get into it yet.
All right. I'll be patient.
Seconds, but it starts Friday, and I think as corny and as cliche as it sounds, the road to Omaha, man, we got to get there. And this is a team that I think can do it. They're playing well at the right time. And baseball's a tricky sport, man. And if you get hot, you can go a long way, even if you're not the best team in the country. And I still think they're one of the top 10 teams in the country for sure. So anything can happen at that point. But like I mentioned, baseball is a crazy sport, man. So it's going to be interesting to see how the tournament pans out.
Yeah. We talked about this on Monday's Instant Reaction show, but just missed a national seed.
Yes, this much. And I get why we didn't, but had they given us a national seed, I think that everybody would have been okay with it as well.
I don't know, just because I don't know who you bump out.
Well, it would have been okay. Maybe if they would have bumped out Stanford, then they would have been like, "Look at this ACC and SEC bias."
I mean, they couldn't do that. Like, there's not even there's the next farthest west host from Stanford is Stillwater, Oklahoma. Like, they couldn't.
Yeah, it's kind of.
I mean, the problem is Virginia being the bubble national seed host. Like, if you look at the rankings that came out, we're ahead of Virginia and all them. Right. But if you're on a committee and you're, apportioning, and there's a huge difference between 8 and 9, because there is, even though I know Virginia ended up 7th, but we strongly suspect that was a shuffle, so we wouldn't line up with them because they want a weekend conference series as a super regional. I don't think you can justify, even though I think we're a better team than them at this point, and we're certainly playing better than them right now. I don't think you can justify saying, when they swept us and won the Coastal. Like, I'd be irate if I was if we had swept the team and won the division and won in the ACC tournament, and the other team made the final. Like, oh yeah, let's make that the national seed. Like, you got to be kidding me! What is this crap? So
I agree.
Like, I personally would not have put us in front of Virginia, even though I think we're a better team than them right now.
Well, that kind of happened last year.
The whole team has to count. Right, so
that kind of happened with us last year, right? We got a national seed, but we ended up,
we weren't playing well. We played terrible in the ACC tournament. We got mercy rolled by Wake last year, and then that carried that into the Coral Gables region. Unfortunately,
we sure did. All right, so let's get right into it, man, because hopefully, right? We're praying to the rain gods. We're praying to the weather gods.
Yeah, the weather looks nasty, but not as. I guess it's looking to be more hit or miss. So there should be
I hope so.
windows to get the games in, but expect it to be, all right, we're delayed for 45 minutes an hour, then we'll try to get some innings in, then maybe pause again. It's going to be one of those types of deals. But
Right.
last year it was basically Friday was a complete washout. And then it was still doing the dodging over the weekend. So hopefully they can, because one of the things that did happen to our team last year is, playing those the way they redid the schedule was to fit 4 days of games into 3 days. So on that Sunday, normally you don't play twice on the same day,
Right.
in unless you're like on that last day. That's true. We did actually. I mean, this isn't even. Yeah, no, that's true. We
I
kind
feel
of
like
got
that plays into our hands.
that might help, but what happened? Like usually, if you're in the winners bracket, you can't really get eliminated the next day like we did. But we were in the winners bracket 2-1 run losses, season over, just like that. You usually don't have to recover in 10 minutes and play again like we did. And so we're gonna definitely cover this, Jeff. And man, Jeff's on all of my shows this week.
He's ready to roll. He's ready to roll.
Yeah, no, he's doing the full cane circle with us. So hopefully, they'll at least be able to play both the games on Friday and keep on schedule, even if it's, not maybe on time. And that way we're not in a situation where we're playing like 3 games in a day or something like we did last year. So
yeah, exactly. Well, this is what I want to do. I kind of want to go backwards on previewing the teams and the matchups. Obviously, we're going to kind of talk.
Oh yeah, no, I agree. I think we overall probably the one national seed we probably had a better resume on paper than is Virginia, but you can't do that because they dominated us in the season. So I think I don't think they could have really put us over. I don't think Stanford was the 8. I think Stanford was the 7. They switched it so that we wouldn't play Virginia.
Yeah, I think that makes total sense. And I'm kind of happy they did that, but at the same time, I think that
well, I mean,
Virginia's not playing great right now. So even if they
and also, I definitely would have, Virginia. If that's an hour and a half drive for me. So.
Yeah, it would have been nice for you, right?
Now I'm like 6-hour flight. Man. Shoot.
Yeah. And
maybe Stanford loses, and then we don't have to worry about such things.
Yeah, Stanford loses. Cal State Fullerton could win it. Texas A&M, they're still coming to Miami anyway, so that's good over there. But let's talk about this matchup, Vish. The 1 versus 4, obviously Miami and Maine. Maine is it's again. This is not a bad team, right? They won the America East Conference. And they kind of cruised through it. Good record, 31-19 overall. Now, here's the only thing, right? This happens a lot with most teams, right? They were 4-7 in neutral sites. Although they did take 2 or 3 from Pitt, which is an ACC team, who decent team. They obviously didn't do much in the tournament or whatnot, but it's still an ACC team. They went up there and they took 2 or 3 from them, right? They've got a little bit of power. They've hit 83 home runs this year. 5 players hitting over 300. They've got some really good guys like Jeremiah Jenkins. He leads the team in batting average, home runs. He's got 20 bombs, so he can definitely swing the bat a little bit. They are top heavy though, so if you can get through the top half of the lineup, I think that Miami should be okay. Again, they haven't played the caliber of teams that Miami has. They do have some pretty good pitching. Their Friday night starters, this kid, Colin Fitzgerald, started the first game in the tournament. He's probably going to get the nod here. He is a sophomore. He's a young kid. Not great numbers, but 4.48 ERA is probably better than ours, than whoever we got starting. But that either way, their pitching is okay. They've got 3 guys. Gianni Gambardella is the best pitcher at a 2.91 ERA, but he's only had 13 appearances, and he's kind of like a 2 or 3 inning type of guy. So look, this is gonna be
too soon, man. Too soon.
Oh, I'm not reading that. What did it say? I don't mean, it was Blake James. Jeez, that's not good. That's not good.
So
Again,
just
go
sorry
back
to
to
address this because before we kind of get on the main a little bit. So there's definitely a high chance of rain. The difference with this year's forecast versus last is it's actually somewhat similar in that there's a tropical system, not like a storm, but a tropical system, like not like a named storm, but tropical system in the Gulf.
right.
The difference this year is it's supposed to go north of us. We're going to get the edges of it. So there's a high chance of rain, but there should be gaps. Last year, it rained the entire day without any gap on Friday. So they just washed the whole thing out, started everything late on Saturday when it kind of cleared out, played through a drizzle then. Like, we should hopefully be able to have gaps. Like, Jazz and I were talking about this. We think they might move some of the game times around. You know, the Texas game might not start on time and all of that, but we're hopeful that they can at least get the games in on the day that they're scheduled, although it's unlikely they'll all just go off on time.
Right.
So I think it's a little bit of a different forecast. It doesn't look good either, but it's Miami in May. We're used to this.
Exactly.
Or June, I guess, at that point.
I guess June at this point, yeah. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if Miami's game gets off. But just kind of going back to Maine, you know, they're coming in and they've won 7 games in a row, so they'll be confident. This is the thing with a lot of these teams, right? A lot of these teams that are in the tournament have won a few games in a row, right? Some of these lower half of the bracket teams, they're 3s and they're 4s because they're not playing these P5, you know, ACC conference tournaments. They're not playing those type of tournaments. So you get teams that kind of get hot at the end of the year. Look at Tulane, what they did, for the love of God. You know, they're the first 40-win team, I think, 40-loss team, excuse me, in the tournament in quite some time. I don't even know. Maybe it might be in the whole entire history of the tournament.
Right. Yeah, they're one of the worst teams ever, too.
Yep. I mean, they what is it? Teams have also played 10 times in the last 10 years.
Yeah, we've been playing Maine as that kickoff series a few times, and also as the finals week series.
That's right. That's what it was.
So we've hit them a couple of times, we're 8-2 against them, but you know, it just takes one to ruin our season at this point. So
that's it. That's all it takes.
And to your point, Jazz, they're actually not one of those teams that just got hot. They dominated their conference and then won the conference tournament. Now it is a single bid league, and like you said, the question is the competition, but the numbers are strong. They're used to winning. You can't underestimate the how much confidence you have going in there when you're used to hitting the ball well, used to winning. You know, if we get off to a slow start, they're capable of winning. Obviously,
Absolutely.
They've won here. You know, us winning 80% of the games against that program is not 100%. So I mean, they can definitely win, and they're used to winning. So it's a little bit like, I feel like you'd rather almost play a team like obviously Tulane's an extreme example, but a team that, you know, probably wouldn't have gotten in but got hot in their conference tournament, because then you're like, all right, this is a team that's kind of used to losing that the year. Maine is not that. Like you said, they won at Pitt. They did get swept at Maryland, which is kind of the only other really, you know, name. Maryland was a borderline host, but they didn't really get challenged in their conference tournament either. And that's a high pressure situation for them in a 1-bid league. They had this great season, and then you go blow a game and you're gone. You're gone. Like, it's not like where we basically said we're not going to throw Walters in the ACC championship game to save his arm. Like, they don't have those luxuries, and they kind of handle that easily. This is a solid team, and it's one where there are a few hitters on the team that can really hurt you, and we got to make sure we're careful with those.
Here's what I will say, and you know, look, everybody that's writing in the chat, if you've heard any of the other shows, I talk about college baseball as a whole. I mean, it's a crapshoot. Some of these lower, you know, these mid-major conferences, these Division II teams, NAI teams, JUCO teams, sometimes are more talented than some of these Power 5 teams. You know, and that's how baseball is. Baseball is weird, right? You got so much talent everywhere. And to be quite honest with you, like, sometimes the lineups are really, really strong all throughout conference play, all throughout the tournament. So you're going to face good lineups. You're going to face good hitters. Where you're going to see a little bit of the difference between a Power 5 team and a team that's in, you know, America East Conference or whatever it is, or the MAC or some sort of group of 5 school. The biggest difference, the most inherent difference that you're going to notice is in pitching, right? Sometimes in some of these big Power 5 schools, you will have these big arms, right? The guys that throw 95, 98, 99. and they can go after you and they're going to shut you down, right? You're not going to get that with a lot of these mid-major schools, these schools that have, that play up in the Northeast. So like you're going to get maybe an arm that's 88 to 90, 91, but for the most part, you're going to get guys that are just, they're kind of sitting right around 88 to 90, and that's the average, obviously, right? We all know that the average is about 90, 89, 90s. But the point is that you're not going to have that dominant arm like you would with a Florida or Vanderbilt or Texas, even Texas, who's a 2 seed, and we'll get to them. You're not going to have those types with teams like a Maine or like even Tulane, who's in a bigger conference. You're not going to get those big arms. That's where Miami or other top teams have to take advantage.
Well, do we have those? Well, I guess this is kind of some of the discussion in the chat. We have those arms. Are we going to throw them? We don't have a lot of them this year. Are we going to throw any of them in this?
So that's what I was getting at, right? That's what I was getting at is, I see Jeff talking about it and Smash and Pokane and some of the other guys about who they want to see start against Maine, and we've talked about this a little bit, right? Who we think could start, and I think we've both started to agree that for us, I think it's people, right? It's Rosario. I think should get the nod.
That's who I would throw.
Yeah, I mean, tell me why. Tell me why, Vish.
Well, to your point, they're not used to seeing that kind of velocity. It's an adjustment. I mean, they're obviously significantly better than Presbyterian, but they couldn't touch him because he just overpowered them. He's coming off one of his better performances of the season against the number one team in the country. And he can go long into games. And I'm thinking the bullpen, conserving it. I get what Smash is saying, and that's certainly an option to go Ligon and Chestnut to really eat a bunch of the innings. I'd rather have we might have to play a lot of games. We might need him to start somewhere. So just burning him out of the bullpen the first game is not something I would do. And I think the other thing with Peepo is even when he's struggling, he tends to settle in. He has a bad inning and then can kind of recover a little bit and continue to eat innings. So I think between those things, like he can definitely get tagged, and we've seen it, and it's kind of how is he getting smacked this much throwing this hard? But I think Maine will have more trouble doing that. And I think even if let's say in the second inning he gets tagged for 2 or 3 runs, I still think he's capable of mentally bouncing back from that and throwing another 4 or 5 innings and getting us deeper into the game because he's done that before. He famously has his bad inning and then he kind of is fine after that. And I think that works well in this game because it's much less likely he would have that bad inning. And then also I think it'll help conserve the bullpen, which is what my biggest concern is. Like I think Maine's a good team. We should win, but you don't want to use half your bullpen to try and win that game and go deep into the game. So I think Peepo gives us an opportunity to not do that and keep Ligon and Zeal for the rest of the weekend.
Yeah. Look, and I still think Chestnut is available, right? For three or 4 innings. I think you can still get
that. If you need to, yeah.
If you need to. So if let's just say hypothetically speaking, Rosario goes 6 innings and we're up by 6 or 7 runs.
Gunther Brandel.
Then you got Sebastian Perez. Now,
I think it would be. I actually do think if we're up like that by that margin, Perez would get a shot in there.
Yeah, I can see that too. But I can see kind of Chestnut getting his confidence, continue to build on his confidence a little bit against a team like Maine, and going out there and getting a couple of innings of really good work. Look, right now at this point, it's about staying hot or getting hot and staying hot, right? And if you can get a couple of innings in against a team like Maine and shut them down, your confidence is going to get boosted. You're going to play better baseball. You can kind of work that through the rest of the tournament, and that's it. Yeah, he throws when he gets behind, and the hitters know what's coming. Absolutely, but I think that's where the difference is between a team like Maine and Texas, or even Louisiana, where he can get behind on some of these hitters and still overpower them enough where, look, the hitting is the hitting, right? Everybody has good hitting at this point. But I just feel like because he is so overpowering, he throws so hard that I think he, is the kind of guy that can come in and shut a team like Maine down.
But what do you think about, I guess we should point out that Gino is not kind of named anything, which is one of the reasons we're having this debate. he did mention, we aren't sure what role People has. He might be out of the bullpen. Now, he was obviously, again, against the number one team in the country, really good out of the bullpen last week. So I know we talked about and Smash is right. He's had 2 outstanding regional starts. We're talking about what do you think Gino is going to do here? Because I got the sense he's kind of like, I think, remember he put Pipo in against FIU in that midweek game. We started texting each other like, what the hell is Pipo doing in this game?
Yeah.
And I think it was at this point clearly, it was a confidence builder as well as let's see what he does out of the pen. And then he did it again against Wake, and he worked really well. I wonder if at this point it's like this guy's role is better there.
This is another good option, right? This is something that I brought up. What Smash just brought up is starting with a guy like Gaio is another guy that's overpowering, right? He's 94 to 96 on the bump. He's another guy that can come in, and he's been pitching really well lately as well. So I can see this option of going with Gaio and then maybe working some other guys in. The only problem I have with that is that Gaio hasn't gone more than about 4 innings this year, 3 or 4 innings. And
he's not really going to go.
If he wants someone that's going to eat innings, he's not the guy. People is definitely the guy that's going to eat more innings. So that's the only reason why. And I think that right now you got to do whatever you can to conserve that bullpen because they've thrown so many innings, right? Torres has thrown a lot. Even Walters has had a couple multiple innings saved.
Yeah, there's definitely been a pulling back on Torres's usage to try and save him a little bit, and Walters there hasn't really been if you watched last weekend, but Torres definitely he's getting quick hooked out of games and not put in situations where you normally would to have him pitch a little bit less. I think we used him in like a 1 batter situation last week. I'm like, he never goes 1 batter. So I think it was against Wake. So he's someone I think whose arm we're saving for he's really, despite what happened against Clemson, he's a very good high leverage moment pitcher, and we want to make sure he's got arm to do that. So I can't imagine. I think the goal, regardless of who starts, I think the goal against Maine is to win without Lecarica, Rafe, Torres, or Walters pitching.
Right.
That's your goal, right? What anyone else you use is probably okay. Obviously, you're not going to use like 3 of the starters, so it'll, but if you can get through without taxing those arms, because that's our bullpen. Those are the guys you want to save for the rest of the weekend. So that's the goal. So whatever they think can do that. So if you go with Gaio, I think it would be Gaio then Chestnut probably to maybe eat a bunch of innings. I think you could get away with that. You definitely don't want to do what we did in a lot of the midweeks, which is, Gaio for 2, then Torres for 2, then Lecarica for 2.
Way, you got to win this game.
Yeah,
right?
you absolutely have to win this game.
You got to win this game. So.
And that's why we're talking about the pitching. The hitting's got to show up and just put up a crooked number early and kind of depressurize the thing. And that'll give Gino, I was joking about Brandal, but I think Sebastian Perez could actually get some innings on Friday if we have a big lead. Yeah. That's on the hitting to give Gino the luxury to do that. Because let's be real, if it's like a 2-run game in the 8th, he's gonna have to go to Walters for 6 innings, 6 outs. That's just 3 out of it. Because to your point, you cannot lose this game,
right?
So it's the hitting has got to put the game away so that you can take those luxuries with the pitchers. Because if it's close, you got to go Lecarica, you got to go to Walters, you got to get that, and got to go to Torres, you got to go to Rafe, you got to use them. Yep. So the way to kind of put that out of reach is just to score a bunch of runs early, and we didn't really do that last year. Yo-Yo was the only one that showed up last year, and I think he had 2 bombs against Canisius, and we finally put a little bit of a lead there, but that was tight through the middle innings. I think so too, Poke. I think that's the bigger thing here. If we can, and I think someone else made that comment earlier. Yeah, Smash saying we'll shred them. Yeah, we should. Their pitching is not great, even against America East competition. So there is an opportunity to really hit them, and then that just makes the pitching decisions easy.
Oh, and by the way, I didn't fully answer your question, but I think Gino right now still hasn't decided, to be honest with you. Mm-hmm. I think he's going to wait until Friday. And he's also going to play the weather. I think the weather is going to play a big part in it, too. I know it's weird to say because whoever, should be able to come in and pitch in the rain. But you saw what people did in the rain. He did well. You saw what Ligon did in the rain. He did well as well. So that brings into question, do they go with somebody like that can kind of pitch in those type of pressure situations? So I think it's going to be interesting to watch. what Gino does, and
Yeah, the other thing he might want he might read into there is you mentioned the weather in terms of like having to maybe play in the rain, but does it feel like it's going to be a game that stops and starts a bunch? Because
right.
I don't know that currently Ligon is capable of
No, I
basically
think
doing.
if he
Yeah,
starts,
if he starts and then we get rain delayed, he's probably done. Because, but if you recall that Duke game, the last game of that weekend series, our last home game of the year in the regular season, Guile threw an inning, and then lightning delay, sat around for like an hour, came back in, and threw 2 more innings. Ligon can't do that right now. So if you think you're going to get into a stop-start situation, you might say, maybe today, like maybe the forecast is better tomorrow, and you do that sort of thing.
Right. Now, before we get into the other 2 teams, because I know we talked about this a little bit, but the lineup is still a little bit of a question mark. And one specific, one specific section, right? Like one hitter. It's that 2-hole. It's that third outfielder. It's what do you do there? I think that Gino's going to stick with what he's done right now, right? I think, especially against Maine, I think he's just going to stick with putting Villegas out there again, hitting 2-hole, and DHing Renzo in the meantime and playing Sear at second base. I think that because I know we talked about, hey, well, I mean, Dorian is hitting the ball a little bit better. Why not put him in a second base, DH Sear? He seems to hit the ball really well when he's DHing, and then maybe you can kind of throw in.
You can put Renzo. You can put Renzo, or if you want, Carrier or Farrow into the outfield. Yeah.
Right.
Although
I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah. So this is actually, this is actually a problem for all of the names we just mentioned.
Except maybe. Well, look. To be honest with you, right? Like Villegas had a shitty day in the outfield.
Yeah.
Typically, he's a really good outfielder.
He's solid. I think I am a little frustrated with. I think he's a little too conservative out there. He lets balls drop that I think he can make a play on to avoid a double, which maybe how he's coached.
Right.
So, but I definitely there's definitely been, I would say, at least a dozen times recently where there's kind of 50-50 fly balls hit, and rather than like charge it and try to make a diving catch or get to it, he kind of pulls back, lets it land, and which is the safe play. It takes the double away, because if you miss it, when you like laying out and catching a ball is very hard, and if you miss it, you're screwed, double or triple, right? So I get that, I get why, but then, I mean, compared to Carrier and Farrow's range, like he covers the ocean, so it's not exactly like when we're tricky between those. Lorenzo doesn't have much range either.
Yeah, and I'd love to put Dario in there. He's probably the best outfielder aside from Jacoby Long.
Yeah, Dario is definitely the best. Too soon.
Yeah. By the way, I want to answer this really quick. I'm sorry, the Cinta over Rafe thing. Typically, at the beginning, I would have said the same thing, Smash. But I think that Rafe has been throwing. Again, you got to remember, right? Like this baseball is about who's hot, who's pitching well, who's hitting well at the moment. You have to kind of go with the hot hand. Right now, Rafe is throwing well. He's throwing. Yeah, he's been iffy at times. But right now, the past maybe week or two, he's come in some pressure situations and done all right. He hasn't done bad at all. And maybe, I don't know what happened with Cinta. I'm not saying that he hasn't.
Well, on the Cinta, I agree with you. And on the Cinta point, Gino did talk about, because he did pitch well against Clemson, and he said he is going to pitch this weekend. Because, to Jazz's point, Cinta was a key bullpen arm for much of the year and just, disappeared and wasn't even like someone they were calling on. Rafe definitely has gotten out there a lot more recently, but we went to Cinta on Sunday. He did really well, and Gino did say he would pitch this weekend, so he's going to come in too. In terms of Rafe, Gino actually talked about this before the Duke series, I believe. I don't. It was either before the Duke series, before the ACC tournament, but I think it was before the Duke series, and he said whether or not this is right, actually Jazz will have an uninformed opinion on this, so I'll tell you what he said and Jazz can comment on it. He said one of the things he does is, talk to his hitters, who on our staff is hardest to hit, and he said Rafe's name constantly comes up, and that is one of the reasons he likes to go to him. And then pretty much immediately after that, Rafe is all of a sudden a key bullpen arm again when he had kind of not been pitching a lot most of the year. So
Right.
is that the correct way to evaluate him as someone who played baseball at a high level?
I don't think that's a bad thing, right? I think sometimes you just got to go with what your guys are telling you, man. I mean, those guys are at the plate and they're facing guys all the time, whether it's they're facing their own guys or they're facing, other guys with the same type of, mechanics. And so the big thing with Rafe is his arm angle, right? His arm angle is kind of quirky. It's not 3/4, but it's not sidearm, but it's kind of on the side. It's very reminiscent of Carson Palmquist's arm angle. Right now, obviously, Carson was a stud.
Yeah.
He was our ace. But I'm talking about just from an arm angle perspective. When you got a guy, and I'm going like this, but when you got a guy coming from that arm angle, whether you're a left-handed hitter or a right-handed hitter, the ball comes at you at a different angle. It comes at you at a different way. And then if you mix in his off-speed stuff and he throws some sliders that are going to cut and break at your ankles, I mean, that's what it's all about when it comes to Rafe. It's not really how hard he throws. He doesn't throw that hard. He's 88 to 90 more or less. So he doesn't throw that hard. It's his arm angle and how quick the ball gets to you. So if you can use that to your advantage, if you're a left-handed hitter and he's facing you from the left-handed side and he's coming at you with that arm angle, now your perception of the ball and where it's coming out of is a lot different. It makes it harder to hit. It definitely does. At that point, it's not about speed. It's more about the arm angle and how the ball comes at you and how live his arm is, even if he's not throwing that hard. Same thing with the right. With the right-handed hitter, he could be staying away from you. And you think it's really outside, right, when he's painting the black, or the ball's dropping in the zone on an off-speed pitch, and you can't really tell because you're a right-handed hitter and he's throwing he's throwing it on the outside part of the plate. And that's really what it comes down to. So I can see why they say that he is, tough to hit, because it's about arm angles with him. And I'm not saying 88 to 90 is not hard, because that's what I threw. Okay, so that was hard for a guy like me. But with an arm angle like that, and then you're throwing that way, yeah, it's tough. It's tough to hit.
Yeah, I guess my only concern with Rafe is he walks a lot of batters, and that can kill you.
Yeah, he does.
in these pressure games. Just to kind of address what Smash talking about, I can probably talk about Texas and Louisiana. So what we were saying is actually
stick with the guys that got you here. Don't mess with the lineup. Gino's messed with the lineup.
Yeah, Gino's messing with the lineup. Yes, definitely on the fastball.
I agree with that.
Which we've been talking about. Yeah. Jazz and I have been side chatting a lot. He's Pedro Serrano from Major League is the way he's hitting right now.
For sure.
But I think the big thing we were talking about is Villegas. That's the position that Gino's kind of settled on his lineup. Like, we kind of know 8 of the 9 guys. That Villegas position is the one he keeps messing with. So we were kind of just going through some of the options there. I do think Villegas will start. He used the same lineup every game at the ACC tournament. I think it'll be the same one here.
Right.
But that is the one position where you could potentially do a replacement, and it could be putting Courier or Farrow into the outfield. Or if you want to go more defense, it would be Dario. Or if you want to get another left-handed bat in there, to replace Vegas with another left-handed bat, Dorian is an option as well, because you can then move everyone around. Dorian to second, right. Sear to DH, and Renzo to left. So there are some options to play with the lineup there, but I think it's probably going to be Villegas.
Yeah, and I know that 5K day was brutal, but then he has some days where he stings the shit out of the ball, right?
Yeah, we had a couple of guys really, like Carlos Perez had a really rough ACC tournament. So we had a couple of guys struggling there, but I do definitely agree. I think, we're definitely not taking Renzo completely out of the lineup. So it would be Renzo would move to the outfield essentially if you're going to put Carrier or Farrow at DH, but yeah, I think Carrier's kind of been found out a little bit on And which we all of us that watch this program kind of already knew when he started, like, all of a sudden came out there against North Carolina, started hitting bombs. I'm like, eventually gonna throw him a curveball.
Yeah, he's not gonna be able to
And then the book's kind of out on him. He's got to get better at hitting that stuff, or he's not going to be effective. And then Farrow, I mean, the numbers are good, but it's never felt right with him. I don't know.
It doesn't. It doesn't. As good as his numbers look, they're not. It's weird, man.
It's the
weird.
Situational hitting is just not there. This is something this team struggles with quite a bit, and he's probably the poster child for that. I mean, to use kind of a phrase that it feels like a lot of empty calories with him.
Right.
It's kind of like, which is almost the opposite of Renzo. Every time Renzo comes up in a spot, he seems like, get the big single to get the runs home, and Farrow seems to do the opposite. He'll hit a solo shot in the midweek against FIU to go up 8-0, and it's
right.
So I think that's why. I think our lineup from the ACC tournament is what we're probably going to roll with.
Yeah.
In terms of pinch hitting, Gino's been all over the place. Like Gabby Gutierrez is sometimes the first guy.
Yeah.
Even with the guys we mentioned on the bench. And then I would expect Dorian to get into games as defensive substitution because that's the move that he makes. And then Dario as well maybe for Villegas late in games to also for defensive purposes. Because Levinson's a solid fielder. Long and Dario can cover a ton of ground. If you have those three guys in the outfield, you are seriously limiting where the opponent can hit the ball.
Yep, you're okay with that. I'm okay with that. You gotta live with that, right? Live and die with that. So it's gonna be fun to watch. I think that the one thing I will say is that if Gino sees that there's an issue with the lineup against Maine, regardless of even if we put up 10 runs or if we put up 2, God, I hope we don't put up 2. But if we put up 10 or if we put up 6, that's better. He's gonna make a tweak. He's played the hot hand recently, and he's gonna make a tweak. If he thinks it's gonna help the team, he's gonna do it. So Kentucky can't provide hotel rooms for the regional.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw this
Operation. No.
So in Lexington, I guess there's some kind of country music festival, so all the hotel rooms are booked up.
Oh wow!
So the opponent's players are staying in dorm rooms, which they are, by the way, charging them $100 a night for.
Of course.
And then like the player and so they allocate rooms for players and for staff and for no one else. So like the players' families and stuff have to stay like an hour away.
That's wild, man.
And while Smash is right, it's bad timing. Historically, when a stadium is unable to accommodate the event, they have forced them to host somewhere else. You see this a lot with smaller schools that, your stadium only holds like 500 people. Sorry. If you want to host at the minor league park like 3 towns over, and they make them do that. They should have made Kentucky play somewhere. They could be the host school, but somewhere else if they couldn't accommodate.
Go host at the minor league complex.
Yeah, or it'd have to be a few towns over probably again because there's nothing within an hour. But then they should have had to own that and say, look, if you want to host, you can't do it there because you can't accommodate the visitors.
Right.
But they didn't do that, so the players are paying $100. Schools are paying, actually, it's $92 is the exact amount a night for a double room with the bathroom in between, like you would stay in college in a dorm room.
Like a Jack and Jill bathroom.
Yeah. Yep. So they get 4 players in 2 rooms with the bathroom in between them. $92 per room, so that's $184 for that is what they're charging the visiting schools for.
Sounds like fun.
Rather than staying at an actual hotel. Yeah,
Way to go, Lexington.
It sucks. It sucks for the kids that earned a postseason bid and part of the experience, and now you're staying in a dorm room. Sucks.
Yeah, you know what? As a kid, I wouldn't have cared, but I get it.
Well, I mean, I think it's almost worse. I think I would care less now because I'm like, whatever. Let's get down to business. But I think, these are. Only 64 teams make it. These kids, work their ass off from Little League to get to this point, and now you're staying in a dorm room, like as if you're on your own campus. Like,
I mean, you get to stay in a real nice, comfy hotel in Coral Gables somewhere. So does Texas and Louisiana.
Please, I can't. I'm wondering where Texas is probably fucking staying in like a resort somewhere.
Texas, they're staying at the Holiday or something, right?
Texas is definitely like staying at some kind of 5-star resort somewhere.
Yeah.
Probably on like a boat in the bay or something.
No kidding, right? A couple yachts.
That team's got so much money.
they rented a couple yachts out in the Grove and they're staying there. I had to share a bed on the road in college. Story of my life too, Pope.
No, but that's actually my point, right? When you get to this level, you get accommodations.
Yeah.
Right? They earned like to not be double bunking in a fucking dorm room. Like that's the frustrating part. Like they earned that right to like, hey, you get to stay in an actual hotel and like not do that.
Yep.
And they're not gonna get rewarded with that, which sucks for them.
Yeah, that sucks. Let's break down these last two
Yep.
teams.
Well, there's another couple of teams there.
This is the tricky one for me because let's talk a little bit about Louisiana. Here's why it sucks. I can't believe they did this to us again.
Put the bracket together here.
Louisiana was one of the last 4 teams in. Oh,
I don't think it's analogous to Ole Miss. I get where you're going with this, but
oh man, last year Ole Miss was the last team in the Coral Gables Regional as well. Ended up national championship. Listen, I don't think that's
Louisiana's not Ole Miss, man.
Yeah, it's not. But as you know, they're obviously it's a good baseball program. They won 40 games this year. That's big. I know they tied for second in the Sun Belt West.
Yeah, and they were one of the interesting kind of bubble, like you mentioned, they were one of the last 4. And
because of their RPI.
Well, their RPI was bad, but to your point, they won a lot of games. So it's kind of, it's almost the same decision the committee has to make when you think about, is this the opponent you wanted to play?
Right.
You're going to get, those 3 seeds are generally the bubble teams, so you're likely to get one of those. But would you rather play a team with the worst record, sometimes significantly so, with a higher RPI from a power conference, or a team like this, which is used to winning games, won a lot of games this year, really strong, solid club, but doesn't have the high level wins. They basically don't have any that are against power conferences. They did beat Coastal a few times this year, and Coastal's a really good team. So it's not they don't have any quality wins, but they haven't really won any power conference games. And their RPI reflects kind of the schedule they played. There's not a right answer. Definitely, I'm glad we didn't get like last team in SEC team again this year, because that would have just been too much PTSD. So
I will tell you this though, they're, they really didn't play a lot of power conference, teams. They lost 4-2 to Mississippi State. Their non-conference strength of schedule was horrific as well, 126. So a team that has won a lot, but again, this is another team that hasn't played really, really, really big time competition either, right? Like their biggest team that they played outside of their conference and stuff is Mississippi State. So not, it's a solid team. They got hit, again, another team with 5 hitters that are hitting over 300. One of their big time guys is hitting 370, Kyle DeBarge. Not a heavy home run team though, so they do have some guys with some pop, 2 guys with over 10 home runs, but for them it's about speed and keeping them off the bases, right? Because if you get them on the bases, they attempted 218 steals on the year and were successful 161 times. That's a lot, man. That's a lot of stolen bases for a team. So they tend to kind of try to get on base and do their thing there. So that's the biggest thing. You want to talk about their pitching a little bit there, Vish?
Yeah, this is, like you said, the pitching is not the strong suit. It is, they kind of actually not that different from us. They kind of piece it together. They don't have like a necessarily an ace. The guy that they tend to start as their Friday starter, who started the opening game of their conference round, which leads you to believe he might start against Texas. Jackson Yazoo is an FSU transfer. So,
yep. But as long as over 6, so
yeah, but he's started a lot, because some of the other like Cooper Rawls is definitely their money pitcher. He's got the best yard in the team. He's 10-0, but he barely starts. He rarely starts. So
5 games.
Would they 5 out of his 25 appearances, so they go ahead and throw him?
Yeah.
Hard to say. They do have another starter with 11 starts, Jake Hammond, but he's one of the ones that might go like 3 innings, and then they're gonna have to pull him. He doesn't go long.
Right.
So there's not a great answer here for them. It's not that different than ours, except they don't have a Zeal where you're like, that's definitely the one guy. But if you
Right.
think about our rotation after Zeal, it's kind of like, well, you pitch Ligon. He's got the best stuff, but he's not going to go a lot of innings.
Right.
Or you can pitch someone with, that might struggle more, but they might be able to eat more innings. So that's kind of what they're choosing. And that's just for game one for them. They obviously do not have the luxury of doing what the conversation we just had, which is we know we're going to save Zeal for Saturday.
Right.
And so that is man. Anyway, so it's a difficult decision for them. But to your point, their whole thing is to get on the base and then just be really aggressive. They get thrown out stealing a lot too because they just go. Yeah. And so you gotta be alert there. When they get a guy to first, they're gonna send him. And it's really just
ready.
And so if you're sharp defensively, you can make plays there. But if you make mistakes in the field and allow them to, they'll circle the bases that way. So I think that's the big thing with them. Let me just address my co-host here. So I'm saving the rest of my baseball stuff for the weekend in case you weren't aware. We're going to be out at the light. I can't wear that jersey during a game anymore. We lose every time I wear it, so I just wore it yesterday instead. I wore it yesterday instead on buckets because I was definitely not wearing it this weekend. It's not coming out during a game again this year. I don't care what game that is. It's not happening. So that's why the choices are made.
I like it. And then lastly, the team that the team that's going to be the most.
Yeah, this is a tough opponent.
Is a tough one because it's obviously we're talking about Texas here. They're the number 2 seed. They finished in a 3-way tie in the Big 12 with Oklahoma State and West Virginia. Oklahoma State is obviously hosting, and then West Virginia was another really good team. Here's the thing, right? Texas is kind of hot right now. They've won 8 of the last 9 games, including
until the Big 12 tournament where they were kind of one of the favorites to win it, and they went 0-2.
Yeah, I'm getting there. I'm getting there.
Said 8 of the last 9. Well, they kind of sucked ass last weekend, but
yeah, they did sweep West Virginia, who is also in the.
Yeah, at that point, West Virginia was a borderline national seed. They kind of swept them out of the conversation, really.
That was big too. But as I mentioned, they did win 8 of the last 9 regular season games, but they did shit the bed kind of in the Big 12 tournament, losing to Kansas and Kansas State, and they lost big, right? Like they didn't play well at all. And what's funny about that is, and I'm kind of skip to it because their top 2 pitchers, by the way, they have some really good pitching though, right? This is a little bit different.
This is a challenge with them for sure when you're facing them.
Lucas Gordon and LeBaron Johnson, both high-end quality 1 and 2 guys. They both lost though. They lost to Kansas and to Kansas State. So I think that those guys, Gordon being a big-time prospect, is looking to kind of get back on track. Now they're hitting again, as I mentioned last week. They
disappeared.
Well, not only that, like they've had to revamp their whole entire lineup, right? They've had to mix and match so many things. They've hit 85 home runs this year, so they can swing it a little bit. They've got 6 guys that are hitting over 300, 5 of them with over 10 home runs. Their biggest threat is probably Dylan Campbell. He's one of the best players. He hits 341 with 12 home runs and 44 ribbies. So that's
I believe at one point this year he had like a 20-something game hit streak or something. Yeah. He's very, very.
He might have. He's also stolen 25 bags out of 28, so he can run a little bit too. So I think that he's a guy to watch. The third baseman Peyton Powell as well. Probably the leader at the plate for them. Hits 358. He's got 10 bombs also. So that's another guy. And then Eric Kennedy doesn't hit for a lot of numbers, but he's got 16 home runs. So his average is probably a little bit lower, but he has hit 16 ding dongs. So that's a guy. Look, it's still Texas, man. That's a good lineup. That's a strong lineup. As I mentioned, those top 3 guys, but their lineup, albeit that it's a newer lineup. They did struggle in the beginning of the season. They kind of put it together towards the end. I believe they went 38-20 this year.
They had a big winning streak in the middle of the year, and then they had then from there it's been a little up and down. But to your point, it seemed like they kind of righted the ship at the end of the year.
Right. So it's a team that's probably playing good baseball right now. They've got a decent bullpen with Hudson Toll and DJ Burke, and then they've got their closer. What's his name? Zane Morehouse. Yeah, Zane Morehouse. Those guys got sub 3 ERAs. So those are the guys that you definitely want to keep a close eye on out of the bullpen. And chances are, if Miami and Texas win, they're going to face each other in the second game. The second day of the regionals.
Yeah, I will say at the risk of looking past Maine.
Yeah.
You want Louisiana instead of Texas in that second game, and not because simply because of what you mentioned, the pitching. Right. Texas has two really high quality starters.
If you can avoid those two guys and then face them as they're coming out of the losers
or not at all, but basically, after you get past those two guys, Louisiana might even be a better team than Texas, but they're set up to throw those guys the first two games and win the first two games, and then just have to win one more the rest of the weekend.
Right.
Like that's how they get out of the regional. Yep. And those two are top quality arms. Those two, I mean, they've had way better seasons than anyone on our staff. So, you're gonna. Whereas Louisiana, and most of the time, the starting pitcher on one of the big advantages to be the one seed, you hold your best pitcher back. You can't do that in the 2-3 game. The teams are too evenly matched. So you got to throw your best pitcher. You have your second best one going on Saturday against their team's ace. This is different because both of their top two pitchers are really very strong. So Zeal against either of them is a fairly even matchup. But if you get Louisiana's B team, they already don't have a lot of starting pitching. I think that's kind of a very, very strong opportunity to take advantage of with Zeal going against whoever Louisiana would throw in the second game. So that's definitely advantageous based off that. Jeff's right though. Like Texas is really those two pitchers and their closer strong. Other than that, Jazz, you mentioned their hitting's kind of inconsistent. They have a few really, really good players, but there's a drop off there. Like they're a 2 seed with two really high end starters. So if you can miss those, I think they're there for the taking after that. But this format does allow, if you can get those first two games, to have a huge advantage, and they do have the pitching to kind of do that. So they're definitely a threat here.
Definitely. If you well, you kind of answered the question there. If you had to face someone, or
Carrier's not going to play, Melissa. So unfortunately,
what are you talking about? That's to throw some fastballs to Carrier. Well, at this point, he's not even hitting those. So
he did a sky. I was watching that game with my 9-year-old nephew, and Carrier comes up. I was like, hopefully they're stupid enough to throw him a fastball, and they throw him when he popped it a mile in the air. Maybe he looked like an idiot, but I was definitely right because he went for it and he missed it. But that's his pitch. He saw his pitch. He's like, oh my god, they threw me a fastball, but. I don't think any of these opponents are going to be stupid enough to do that. And I think we talked about that a little bit earlier. I don't know how much he's going to play. I was surprised we actually went to him as the pinch hitter.
So was I.
But Gino's been doing this thing, and it's been working where he's just like, everyone but Ariel Garcia might get a chance. And so I'm going to go down with that shit, man. I still think he's a great player that can help this team. But no, because I think next game it might be Farrow that gets the bat, and against Duke we saw it was Gabby Gutierrez, and then Renzo actually wasn't starting in the Advanced Series, and he kind of went to him and he played well and he kept him going. So he's been very much like doing it by feel and not necessarily picking. Like Dorian's, is he still batting in the 100s, if not close to it? Or it might just barely be into the 200s, but
yeah, he's right over the middle.
He still pinch hits with him, and he's got some pinch hits. Like Gino's got a good feel for this team, so anyone could actually get the bat there.
All right, well, we're gonna end with this because I gotta ask you, because you're the one that brought it up in on Twitter, and you're the one that is potentially gonna take a shot and take a chance at it. I myself am going to refrain from putting myself in a position where I'm going to regret it even more than I possibly.
It took me a while to figure out where you were going with this, but now I got it. It took me a while to figure out where. Now I know where it's going. Yeah. Caleb Martin will not feature this week.
No, he won't.
Melissa got it too.
What are you thinking about when you're thinking about trying some of these new shakes that the Mark Light Shake crew is going to put out there? First of all, the Texas one is gross. All right.
I would argue they're all gross.
what is it? Yeah, they are. Brisket and what else? Maple syrup or something like that?
No, it's barbecue sauce, brisket, and vanilla, and then the
Ugh.
Cajun one is they're all three of them have the vanilla base.
Hot sauce
Yeah.
and what is it? Hot sauce and
Cajun spices, and then the main one is lobster and butter.
oh
Yeah, and so Melissa's correct. I mean, if you stayed through hour 3 of buckets, we did address this at one point. But
which was the first one that you're thinking about trying? If you had
so we discussed this on buckets, so I want to get your take on this too. So if I'm going to hit for the cycle here, and get all of them, I'm obviously not going to do them all in the same game.
Don't do that.
I mean, at least if I do that, I've got to do it over the weekend where Melissa's there because she's like a nurse practitioner and she can,
exactly,
do some medical shit or something. But so do I just do it when we play that opponent? Like we got Maine, so I do the lobster in the first game. Is that the move?
I mean, yeah. I look if you had to do it, that would be the move, right?
Look.
Well, what happens if you don't look? Because I'm kind of with Poke on this one. Like if I have to think about it, the brisket one might be the one I do because I can see myself drinking a milkshake and having barbecue. You know what I mean? So like I can
see. I'm the other way. I actually think the lobster one might go down the best because it's not. Maybe. So lobster is not that strong. It depends on how much lobster they put in there, but it's not that strong of a flavor. Butter is butter. So I feel like you could get away with that. I think without getting graphic, I think the Louisiana one is a late game, 8th inning type of deal to make sure that the game is over. Soon.
You mean after you've had like 6 shots of tequila? Yeah, right.
Yeah. I think the Louisiana one might actually be a Friday night if we're up big in the late innings. And we know, all right, this game is definitely going to end in like 15 minutes. I think that's when you might reach for the Louisiana.
Yeah.
Because that one might not end well.
No.
Yeah, we did discuss the rain a little bit. We think right now, my amateur meteorology, we think there'll be delays, but not cancellations.
Yeah, we'll see.
Tap, don't waste your time. That show wasn't very good. We just wanted to talk about baseball, so we got through it.
We really did. Get on there, give us a view.
Yeah, go ahead and open the stream, but please, you don't have to sit through it.
Exactly.
You don't have to sit through it. So
we just wanted to get to baseball talk. No, this is the one you want to rewatch. All right.
This is a good one. This is a better one.
We need a rule. Yeah. Well, talk to Johnny Ruiz about that.
Yeah, you can put one over the top of the stadium.
Life bothered about that one.
They're very good at kind of working. Like last year, again, the forecast was like we basically lost Friday and they got the weekend series in. And finished on time because it finished on Monday, which is the last day it's supposed to finish anyway. So they'll get it in. It's just going to be annoying for all of us that are attending this thing to be sitting through rain delays and stuff. So.
I don't know about that. All right, but I will say this. I'm probably going to pass on any of those 3, and I'm going to stick with like the J-Ro or the Grandma Debbie or something like that.
So you should have instead of selling us out and hanging out with Max yesterday, you should have come over to Buckets. We opened the milkshake menu up. We had a good half an hour on milkshakes. There's an entire podcast episode on the stream for this show on milkshakes.
I didn't get the invite from you. I got the invite from Max. So, I don't know what that says about you guys, but maybe it says a lot about me too, right? Who knows?
The rag arm's good. I had that a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, you did. I had the J-Ro. I remember I had the J-Ro, and then the next night I had the Grandma Debbie. So,
there actually, if you subscribe to our podcast, search for Six Rings Canes. There's an entire podcast episode just on the milkshake from yesterday because we spent like 25 minutes on milkshake, so I cut it into Melissa's calling out some of the behind the scenes stuff. Jazz knows he has an open invite to come on Buckets. He's been on Buckets. What are we talking about?
I'm just talking shit. Well, I'll leave you guys with this. Make sure if you're coming out this weekend to watch some Canes baseball, come say hello to us.
Well, actually, here's can I do this? Melissa, can I do what I think I'm going to do on this show too?
Just do it.
Well, I mean, there's a little bit of a Buckets tie-in, so I don't know if
Whatever, man.
It's for our Buckets viewers, so
it's the Six Rings Canes. Well, you want to do it for baseball viewers too?
Well, all right, okay, there we go. I got the thumbs up. So if you come up to So it's got
I
to be
knew where you were
Saturday.
going with this. I knew where you were going.
It's got to be over the weekend because Melissa's got to be there Friday. She's got to be there. But
Okay.
if you come up to us, we'll all be sitting together, and say you watch Buckets and introduce yourself that way, Melissa will buy you a milkshake. Only the first person though. Only the first person that shows up.
Oh, the first
that
person.
Does it. That
you
does
know
it.
what? I'll double down on that, and I'll say,
I actually doubled down on it, so you're tripling down. I told her if the second person comes through, I'll do it. But then Melissa's like a sports nut, like both of us. So she realized the error in her ways, and she's like, you know what? I'll give you money to go buy yourself the milkshake because I'm not waiting in that line.
Here's the thing, though. Okay, check this out. This is it. This is it for the rewatch crew. If you come up to me and you say I watch the Six Rings Canes baseball show, and you're not the third one, you don't get the shake, though. If you're the first one, I'm not going to tell you, oops, you're the first one. You got to go to Mel. No. You got to be on. You got to do it the right way. If you're the third one, you're the third one. If you're the second one, Vish gets you the milkshake if you go to Vish. So you got to decide who you're going to go up to when you get there. See, this is the tricky part. You think the people will do this? You think the people will be like,
I think we're overcomplicating it.
No, hell no. This is fun. All right, so you got to
There's too
decide.
many
Are you going
rules.
to go up to Mel? Are you going to go up to Vish? Or are you going to go up to Jazz? And then you got to decide, wait, am I the first one that's done this, the second one, or the third one? If you're the first one and you come up to me, you're screwed, or to Vish. If you're the first one, you go to Mel, boom, you got it. What do you think? If you're the second one, you go to
I don't think I understand the rules at this point.
It's easy. Oh, come on now. Oh, stop it. You know what I'm talking about. If you're the first person and you go up to Mel, boom, you get the milkshake. But if you're the first person and you go up to me, you don't get the milkshake. Or do you want to just make it simple and say 1, 2, 3? It doesn't matter what.
I thought that's where we were going, but then you've gone with this like you gotta.
Yeah, it's too complicated. First, third, it doesn't matter who you come up.
Actually, again, Melissa was smart enough to realize the mistake she had made. So we will, by saying we will buy you a milkshake, we mean we will hand you cash to go buy a milkshake. We're not going to stand up. We're not going to miss 3 innings of the game standing in the milkshake line.
We'll give you the $10. You go. You get the
milkshake. We'll give you the $10 to go buy the milkshake.
Stop trying to get out of buying milkshakes. Hey, listen, man. They've bumped up the prices on these things.
It's still an $11 milkshake now. I wonder what the specialty was.
Jeez, man.
Yeah, these are, man, in this economy.
Yeah, sure. Anyways,
but yeah, like so, I might I'll see how it's going. I might try to run the gauntlet on those disgusting. I definitely will not claim that I will finish them.
Yeah,
but I will at least maybe. I wonder if they do like a smaller size. But I have to drink this whole.
I think they do the minis.
Is it like a kid size or something? Like, give me the kid size.
Oh, that's funny. The lobster is going to be market price.
Oh, man, that would be hilarious if it was market price. That would be. Yeah. I would actually buy it just to see what the market price is.
Yeah, no kidding. That's actually funny.
Oh, but yeah, I might run the gauntlet on that. Now, the thing with drinking against the opponent, you might not play all 3 teams, so
right.
There's that possibility. But I think it was a $5 shake involved. Yeah, that inflation gets you. It was definitely a $5 shake. It was not a $10 shake. It was a $5 shake.
Though. Remember, it used to be $5.
Yeah, but in Pulp Fiction, what he's referencing is when they go to that restaurant, right. Which is like the 50s diner theme thing. She orders a $5 shake, which is called $5 shake on the menu.
Yeah,
and he's like, "How the hell can you spend $5 on a shake?" And 30 years later. $10 on a shake.
Yep, and we're doing it.
And we're doing it. Well, I mean, I feel like I'm mostly spending. I feel like the specialty ones will be those $11. So I might be spending $40 on disgusting milkshakes or around there, 33 on milkshakes that aren't even good. But I think one of us has to do it, and you and Melissa have completely chickened out. So I got to step up here, show some leadership.
I admit it.
Oh, Melissa completely checked. All of a sudden, she doesn't eat all these foods I knew she already didn't eat. Come on. Seems too convenient.
Get it together, Mel. Have a piece of bacon for the love of God.
Acid reflux.
I know. That's for sissy pants. All right, I'm done.
How big of a bottle of Pepto are you allowed to bring in? Is it like 3 ounces, like on an airplane?
Bring some Tums. Get your stomach.
I gotta get the chewable so I can get it through the security at the game.
Exactly.
All right, you want to end a little bit more on topic with some predictions? How do you think this is going to go this weekend?
Yeah, I think we make it out of the regional, but I think we go 2-0, and we go 3-0, right? We win all 3 games. We don't, and we move on, and that's it. And I think it's going to be Maine, Texas, and then we finish with we have to beat Texas twice, I think.
Yeah. So, I mean, the
Texas
way the glass half
that's
the
it.
glass half full. So there's a bacon. I mean, I feel like you can candy bacon and make it sweet. So I'm not sure that necessarily like barbecue sauce. It's always anyway.
Right.
So actually, we've re-simplified it. If you come up to us and say you watch buckets,
Doesn't matter who it is.
yeah. If you're the first one, you get a shake from Melissa. If you're the second one, you get a shake from me. Third one, you get a shake from Jazz. That's it. That's as simple as it gets. And by that, again, we're not going to go to the milkshake line and wait there for 4 innings.
Correct. We're not.
Okay, so I do think I also think we'll go 3-0. And my logic is we went 3-1, and with the one being the last game against better teams that we're playing this week. Duke is a high 2 seed. I guess Texas kind of is too. NC State was one of the last teams in, just like Louisiana is, and then Wake is way better than anyone that we're then we're playing. Oh, I guess I am buying someone a milkshake and saying it's from Melissa. She doesn't walk her with cash. Yeah. Anyway, if you are unable to receive a Venmo from Melissa, we'll figure it out. But yeah, so I do think we'll go 3-0, and I actually think Louisiana will beat Texas in the first game.
Nice.
So I think we'll end up playing them in the second game, and I think we'll play Texas in the third game against their fourth starter, which I think we'll be able to beat.
There you go. I like it. Make sure you guys check us out. Follow us on Twitter at Six Rings Canes, and also check us out this weekend at the Light. We will be out there, and come say hi and potentially get a free milkshake.
Yeah, the J-Ro's a favorite, I think, of a lot of people. I think that's the one that got me last year, so I have not gone back to it.
That's what I had a couple weeks ago, so that was good. That was good. All right,
yeah. So we'll have content. We might have some stuff from the stadium and do a little live hit or something. I don't know. We'll see how the weekend goes, but we'll definitely have stuff early next week either way, and hopefully previewing a super regional. So
there you go. We'll see you guys soon. Take it easy.
The Six Ring Cane Show. Yeah. The Six Ring Cane Show. Yeah. The Six Rings Cane Show. You know.